we are actually going to be talking about the modern day woman. I was very excited about the topic, actually, because really, at the end of the day, it was about a modern woman, is that we have choices.
Yeah.
We have choices. So I can't really think about how to stereotype a modern woman. Not all women do.
But I mean, say if you generalize, people see a modern woman as the woman who has it all. She goes to work, she has her man, takes care of her kids, and maybe self-employed. I don't know.
I think the modern day woman is that. She has all those possibilities, options.
Yeah, she's not just a stay-at-home mom, but she can be if she wants to.
Yeah, options, and the fact that we could do it all. And know that we could do it all and have it all. Which is not something I always thought, to be honest.
You know, I agree with all that. And also, I think we need to specify that it's like the modern day woman in North America, and
that's true.
You know, because it's not like that everywhere. You know?
It's true.
And I saw something interesting today. It's this comedian. She wrote a song about the modern day woman, actually, and she's like, the modern day woman is a feminist, whether she likes it or not, because if you like to drive and you like to vote, you're a feminist. You know? And I thought it was a very interesting way to put it, you know?
See, I have an issue with that word, because I don't know, what's the definition of feminist to you guys?
Me, it's like the dictionary definition. It's somebody who believes in equality in political, social equality of the sexes. Period.
But, you know, there's a lot of feminists out there that basically think that feminism is about the woman being superior to the man.
But that's not the definition of feminism. That is not what it is.
Well, anytime you have, like, any kind of polarizing situation, like we have with the men and the women, and you have in other environments, there's always going to be a fringe that is really upset about all the power that they've lost and is really just kind of bent on revenge. They will not particularly admit it, but it comes off in the message that they put out. You know, I'll give you an example. So maybe there's a group that is about taking care of animals, and they will antagonize and be very, very aggressive, and it's almost like an attack.
Yeah.
That's kind of how that comes off sometimes. Like, they're so defensive that they're offensive.
Yeah.
Although I'm not saying that they're wrong. That's what they really feel, and that's for them.
Or blaming every disaster in the world on men, which I don't agree with either.
Yeah, sure. But I don't think that's the true definition.
No,
of
feminism.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know?
And I find it kind of messed up that we have to have a term to explain women and men having equal rights. You know what I mean? Like, we have to call it feminism for it to be like, I used to think feminism was like women on the extreme who were like, women power, we don't need men ruin our lives, blah, blah, blah. But when I found out that it was actually about equal rights, I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Well, that's because we had to fight for it.
Yeah.
And we're still fighting for it, because as much as we're talking about equality and about the modern day women having it all, as much as we could have the career and take care of the family and all of that, you know that even here, we don't have equal pay.
Yeah.
That's true. It's true.
Just as far as jobs are concerned, you know, and careers, we're not getting paid the same as far as careers go, like a doctor, a lawyer.
Where you can actually negotiate your salary too.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not getting paid as much as a man would.
That's crazy.
For the same exact job.
Yeah.
Huh.
But we also do have, at least to acknowledge that we live in a time, although there's always been pockets of women along history that show that they had maintenance over themselves, you know, and dominion over their affairs. But we have more and more women that are working outside in their own fields, doing excellent work and actually able to do that. That they have the right to do that.
Yeah.
That they are contributing to society in a meaningful way, which is why we had to fight before. It's now something we're more likely to have access to than 100, 200 years ago.
That's true.
Girl, put that 50.
Yeah, even 50.
Make that 50 years ago.
Because you know how many companies, so many companies are owned by women now. There's a lot of women entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That's myself.
Or women CEOs of big companies.
Yeah.
You know, so that's cool.
We're getting there. We still have ways to go, but we're getting there. And it's good to acknowledge the steps that we've taken so far. You know, even in Nigeria, from when I was a kid, I remember there was this lady that worked for the oil company with all the big boys, and she was met with derision. She, she was on par with all these big boys, but when she went to events, she was not. She was treated by the ladies like, oh yeah, that single woman who's still working and probably trying to steal our husbands. And the guys were just kind of like, well, she's still a woman. And now when I went back, I was in a van with some of the top of the company, and there were so many women. And my dad whispered to me, he said, see all those women? They're the big girls in the company. It was really cool to see, and they're respected and they're appreciated.
Well, that's nice to hear, because I find it's still a problem even in North America. I mean, all my life I actually I thought that I had to be really, really tough, because my first experiences going into business, I walked into a boardroom with men, and they were looking at me really like a piece of meat. And for many, many years, I just felt like I had to top what a man was doing in the field, and I thought I had to act rough and tough and, quote unquote, a bitch. And that's what you're labeled when you're actually tough and you have brains and whatnot as a woman.
Or bossy.
Very, very. Actually, I've heard people say a bitch, and basically in the field told me, well, no, that's a compliment.
Yeah, actually, something? There's that video you sent me today. I want to find what she said. Yana Gazat. She said a bitch is a broad in total control of herself.
I like that definition.
Love it.
But you know what?
I think it goes with the modern day woman very well.
But I don't like that connotation, because a man that, has brains and he's tough in the boardroom and successful, he's on top of his game. A woman that's like that is a bitch.
It's true. You're right.
Well, it's changing too. You're seeing women. I see these companies that are coming out online that are, doing things like cookies or weddings or whatever, and they're or blogs, or the people who are supplying these wedding blogs, and they're women, and their message is very feminine, and they're not. Yes, it's still a female-dominated industry, but it's becoming more and more possible for a woman to be making her money, doing what she has to do, and actually being able to sit in her own feelings.
But you see, I have an issue with that, because you're naming fields that are obviously female-dominated.
Yes.
You're talking about weddings and cupcakes and frills and whatever.
Right.
I was never in that field. I was in a field that's always been very male-dominant.
Right.
It's not fair that I have to put in 10 times more work, that I have to be more tough and, stand my ground to be heard.
Right, yeah. Right.
And I have the same capacity, if not more, sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm not given the same respect, so I have to, and it messed with my identity.
Right.
For many, many years. And now I'm starting, after so many years of doing business, it's now that I'm realizing and embracing my femininity within the business world, and realizing how I could use that, without, prostituting my mind.
Oh, wow. That's such a beautiful way to say it.
Because that's how I felt before. I just felt like I had to be somewhat, rough, because I wouldn't get the respect. And now I'm starting to realize that it's not prostituting my mind, that actually I could be feminine, but I could be, my strength is just as powerful.
It's just a different kind of strength.
Yes, it's female energy.
Yes.
That's just as powerful, but because we're in this, in this society where they're really stressing, that it's a man's world. They equate money, power to men. So, at a young age, going into that, you feel like you have to, you're competing with men.
So you need to be a man.
Right. Yeah. So it really messed with my identity for years.
Yeah.
And it took me a good, I'd say at least good 15 years to realize that. And now coming out of that, it's caused quite a bit of problems.
But I think this links so beautifully into our gender roles question, you know? And I love what you said about embracing your femininity without prostituting your mind. I think that is the modern day woman's struggle.
Right.
Yes.
You know?
Well, you know, on that note, I remember thinking when you mentioned that we should do this, is that the first thing that popped in my mind was we have a link between femininity. This is why women are scared to be feminine, between femininity and sex.
Yes.
And yes, it's not that they are not linked in some way. They are linked, you know, but it's because the desire isn't well managed. And I would also like to believe that as a modern day woman, I don't necessarily have to, at every encounter with the opposite sex, or even with my own sex, be viewed as a sexual object first. I think that's where we're moving forward on, you know.
If I could just add something to that, is that, you know, the thing is that when you're very young and you don't have the confidence or the maturity, you know, you're eager to come into this into this world, this business world, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once you're there, you don't know how to handle that scrutiny, because what do you do when you go into that boardroom and you know these guys are thinking about how they're going to get you?
They think about your butt. And
They're looking at your legs and your ass and how they're going to get you in bed instead of listening to what you're saying.
So how did you deal with it?
Well, that's the thing.
I had to be aggressive.
I had to be very aggressive and very domineering to mark my territory. And that's how I knew how to handle it when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then now I realize, well, I know how to work that for myself now. So if I go in to get a contract and a guy's looking on my legs and my ass,
right.
Well, you're a dummy. If you're going to give me the contract based on that, you're making my work much easier. You know? And it sucks. Yes, it does. But, you know, it is what it is. At least it's not affecting me personally anymore, because so many years of being someone I'm not by nature. It's not my true essence. It really, it messed me up. So luckily, like, now I have the maturity to balance that out now. And so I didn't really deal with it until now.
And what do you think is the modern day man's struggle? You know, what is the mirror of that?
I mean, we all know there's masculine and feminine in everyone. But just as we've struggled with, say, what you were saying, Sybil, about battling with the masculine energy and trying to find that balance, it's like dudes have repressed their feminine energy for so long, and now it's come out in a very strong way. Like, you see it more even just in pop culture, what we're talking about. Guys are much more... But, I mean, it was like that, what you were... In the 70s, were you saying?
No.
Or the 80s? When was it that dudes were kind of...
Oh, in the 80s.
In the 80s, right? It's the 80s. So, it's like that essence is back, and I find it awesome. But I think that...
I find it scary.
I find it cool because, you know what? It just goes to show, no, to be a dude, you're not just, I'm a macho man. No,
you know? I agree when it's being in tune with your feminine side, but when you start seeing men that are wiggling into their jeans,
well, you know, that's the thing.
But they're allowed to wiggle in their jeans, right?
We have. That's the thing about projecting onto another person your sexual expectations. It comes from there. Okay, so you're a woman who likes a certain type of man. You will compare a lot of men coming in that way, and nobody is cut and dry. We're not cut and dry to fit into, you have to be, sexy Latina bombshell, and this is it. This is what it's supposed to look like. Latina, oh, that's the first thing they come up with. You're African and you're supposed to, it's always linked to our sexual image, and it's the same for the men. They need to be broad-shouldered and slim-waisted, and you know, they need to know how to
strong legs,
and domineering, and you know, be the most aggressive brother in the room, and the winner of the experience. So it's that, but there's some guys who are just like, I just kind of feel sensitive, or I want to sit here and draw. You know, we don't allow people to express themselves. So now it's just exploding.
Yeah,
you know,
there's been there's been like a lot of repression for both sides.
Yeah,
and now I feel like we're entering a phase where it's just, everybody's exploding from each side.
You know, I find it interesting. You know, we were talking about prostitution. You didn't mean it that way, but prostitution, like escorts. You know, I was talking about it with a friend. We were having a heated debate because at first I was very much against that for most of my life. And then there was this girl who wrote an article and explained, you know what? My body is my body. I do not sleep with anyone I don't want to sleep with, but I will do with my body what I want to do with it, you know. And she dates these really wealthy men, and she goes out with them, has conversations. She's like, they're all very sweet. They're all mostly just lonely, and I mean, I make good money. I love sex, and you know what? In the end, it's either that or what. I'm gonna go work at some job under some dude, and I don't know. She changed my mind about the whole thing. I'm not saying I would ever do it.
I completely disagree with
that.
It's
like I wouldn't do it, and I'm sure that there's probably some underlying I don't know what. But what if not? What if that is really her choice, and this is what she wants to do, and this is how she wants to earn her money?
Well, you know I think there are women, but that fall into that category, but I think it's like 0.01%
that aren't messed up by
exactly, and they aren't being pimped, or they aren't being forced, or they aren't being tricked. But about the reclaiming your body, though, I feel I would go more in that sense into like maybe the porn industry, you know, where I feel it's less of like, especially when you decide to go and become a porn star. I feel like that is more of I'm claiming my body than I feel like it's a different kind of prostitution.
Well, when you think about it, they're both having sex. They're both having sex, and they are doing so with somebody they don't have a special connection, or you know, and they're choosing to do it outside, and they're saying, no one controls me. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but she has a choice. Like, she has a choice, whether she chooses to do the right thing or the wrong thing, whether it's considered to be the wrong thing or the other or whatever. But the men have had the right to have the choice. Think about it. They have the choice to say, my wife doesn't want to have sex with me, or I'm not having sex with her, and I don't want to deal with all the, you know, emotional crap. So I'm going to get a girl who's going to come and look at me and make me feel good about myself, and I can have sex with her. He has a choice. It's like, you know, like the modern woman till this day, I understand that sexual promiscuity, energy, our thing is, we're trying to manage the collective, but women are still antagonized for being sexual, for having sexual choice. That's why we see this whole extreme, and we're like, I don't like, what's her name, the pop girl.
There's so many pop girls, girl.
The one with the wrecking ball.
Oh, Miley Cyrus.
Everyone's so mad about Miley Cyrus.
Oh, girl, please. She's on copious amount of drugs. That's why people are dissing her. She's acting like a fool. Like, I'll just keep it real. It's not because she's showing ass and tits. Everyone shows ass and tits. It's because the girl's high as a kite, and making a fool of herself. That's why people are talking about her. Look at her on stage. It's not because she's twerking. Everyone's twerking. She's making an idiot of herself. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Real talk.
Real talk. Like, it's not about sexuality. I mean, no. Everybody's people are half naked on TV all the time. It's not about that.
Streets even.
It's not about that. It's because she's making a fool of herself. Real talk.
Even if you want to take her example out, the original point is that if a woman goes around and decides that she wants to be sexually liberated, to do whatever she wants with her body, and then does the same thing that men do, she's considered a whore. Or a prostitute, and the worst possible thing you can be. And meanwhile, prostitution, really the energy is about selling yourself. Is
prostitution really freedom, or is it you've created your own jail?
That's a whole topic by itself.
Exactly. I'm not going to comment any further because I think that's a very sensitive topic, and I don't believe that's the freedom of women whatsoever.
I don't either.
Nor anything to do with modern day women. And I'm just going to specify this because I feel very passionate about it. When I said prostitution of the mind, in no shape or form was I talking about a prostitute in a sexual manner. In no shape or form was I talking about that.
Okay, I know. And that's why, I mean, I made the link just because it's the same word, but I knew that's not what you meant, you know? But I think that in the end, ultimately, for me anyways, less and less am I judgmental of people. I mean, I still am, but I'm toning it down because I don't know what the hell. Say that girl who decides, you know what, I'm an escort, this is what I'm going to do, that's it. It's like, this is your story. I'm not sure what's going on, but it's your story. You know what I mean? And I just think that modern day women empower one another you know, and come together, like say we're doing
rather
that.
have a conversation with her, with someone asking her the real questions and really like respecting her answers.
Yeah.
Instead of just bashing her and judging her and being like, this is who you are, this is what you are.
Because I don't think that prostitution, in my personal opinion, is an appropriate form of employment. But that's for me.
Yeah.
That's just me.
That's the
and
thing.
I think that all that human beings have been doing for a very long time is trying to have the right to make choices. Mm-hmm. And if you restrict people from making any kind of choice because you believe that you know what's better for them, which is sometimes necessary, but you know what I mean? Like, the more we do that, the more people feel like they have to express themselves.
It's true.
You know? So that's just it. For me, the modern woman to choose that she wants to be feminine and wear pink because she likes that color and go and do a job in a bank and have a light tone voice and express herself as she is and still be heard. That's,
that's the dream.
Choice. That's the dream. And then to reach for it, I'm reaching for it.
Or if a woman has a strong personality and a voice and likes to express herself and doesn't like pink, she should be able to do that.
Yeah.
And that to me is also part of being a modern day woman.
Yeah.
I want to wear black. I don't want to wear pink all the time. And I will be opinionated. And there's no reason why I can't have a piece of the pie.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm more than capable.
Yeah.
I have the brain, and I have the strength, and I have the power. So why not? And I think that's what it is. Modern day women, they have the choice to do whatever they want, and they could do it all.
And they own it, and they own their choices, and they're layered. So layered. Just what you were saying. You were saying, you know what? This is what I'm feeling right now. My feelings change.
Yeah.
At some point I'm going to feel a bit like this, and then I get a little either cranky or happy, but these are my feelings, and I will not let anyone try to control them or dictate. Just let me be. Let me be me.
Yeah,
That's
I'm going to try to make the best decision with them. I want to be okay, and I want everyone else to, so I can trust myself.
Yeah.
And that is something that, coming from, like, when growing up, seeing that we didn't have a lot of choices. And I know that it was done, they felt that it was being done for our best, but the guys got away with things that the girls couldn't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of excuses given to guys
and
to just go out there and just experience life. Like, they went out there, they had fun, they figured stuff out, and they came back. And the girls were kept inside. And, like, who are you going to see? And you have to go with this person to control their interaction, as though the girls can't be trusted with their own lives.
Mm-hmm.
With their own intelligence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, that's something I'm very grateful for, because I was brought up in a way where my parents, specifically my father, really trusted my intelligence.
Yeah.
Although he was very experimental with me. And I was quite the rebel when I was younger. But I always had a good moral compass.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my father knew that. I think at the end of the day, even though I did crazy stuff as a bad girl, it all goes back to, I think, how you're also raised.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's not because you're a girl or a boy. Mm-hmm. I think if you're a child, if you're raised properly and you have the intelligence, and some people weren't able to get raised like that, but have the intelligence, I don't think you should be kept.
I'm happy that you mentioned the intelligence, because sometimes you're raised properly, but you still end up being pretty messed up. You know what I mean? So
when I mean raised properly, I don't mean like the best schools and
that's not what I mean.
Stuff.
I'm talking about your parenting. The parenting. Yes.
And it's touchy because raised properly for you might not be raised properly for me, which might not be raised properly for the other person. And that's where we all come in, and we're all messed up anyways, because our parents love us or not. Some people don't have parents who love them, which is messed up, and I don't want to admit that and accept it, but it's true. Like, some people have not received proper love from their parents or their caretakers or whatnot. But
actually, is that not like pretty much most people?
Yo, seriously,
it's true, right? Some people, it's like some people were actually loved by their parents.
Yeah, that's the exception.
But the parents love you, but it's just that the way you give love is not the same way people perceive love.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's this dance that we do together, and the closer you get, the less likely you are to allow for the person's cray-cray.
Yeah.
So you'd be like, you're not loving me enough. And everyone's like, and it's just this battle forever and ever.
Yeah.
Eventually you come out of it, you're like, all right.
But the beauty of it is when, like, say, in your case, you're saying your father, he acknowledged your intelligence.
Yeah.
And he
did. He
trusted that you knew that even if you were going to fall, you were going to get back up and he was going to be there.
He gave you that space.
He nurtured that.
Exactly.
He
so
really nurtured that.
When you give space to your children to explore and be and fall and get hurt and come back to you, I think that's the beauty. To me, that's raised properly.
Yeah.
You know?
But you say when you give space to children, which is true, but I think when you give space to people, and that's where it comes down to being able to make a choice. But to have a choice, for the choices to be laid down in front of you, you have to have space. You have to have freedom and have a horizon, a view. You know, if it's all close to your face, you can't see it. You can't even see that it's a possibility.
It's like when you cover someone's face with something.
Yeah.
And you say to them, you can't be trusted with your own agency, so you can only be accompanied by me everywhere, and the only people you will interact with these people, and you can't be privy to anything, and you can't contribute really, except for to manage my eating, my pooping, and my sleeping habits, and my sexing habits, which is the reality for a lot of women. And they are not always secluded into one environment or one particular group or religion or whatever. They're all over the place, but more and more women are being able to say, you know what I'm going to do with my life? I'm going to go to school and learn something and expect to have a job. And there's more of that going on.
And it's been proven over and over again that if you want to elevate a society, you have to elevate the women from that society. Because the women nurture the children, they nurture the family, they nurture the community. So it's like you reach into the heart.
The root.
The root, exactly.
The nucleus.
Yeah. So I think another awesome thing about being a modern day woman is that I know that I am worthy. Because a lot of times, 50 years ago, you had to repeat it to yourself and be like, I am worthy, and kind of look for examples in the culture, of women that are pushing for that. But now, me as myself, I can just turn to you ladies around me and see your greatness and your worth and your beauty. And I can look back in history, not so far back, and find countless, women that are inspiring and role models, So I think that's one of the great things of being a modern day woman.
Which is interesting because nowadays you have both. I find you see amazing female role models. But even if you look in history, because you were saying 50 years back, for me, looking back in history, there was a lot of women that were role models because they fought for the rights we have now. And to me, that's those are role models. We could look back on that. Our ancestors that fought to give us these rights now. Because nowadays you look and it's like, there's some wonderful female role models, but there's some awful ones. Look at just pop culture. It's terrible. Like, it makes me cringe to see what, like, children are looking at and looking up to.
Yeah, I agree with that in the sense that I feel that a lot of times you're gonna hear pop stars or, celebrities being like, I'm not trying to be a role model. I'm just trying to be myself. And I'm like, okay.
I have a huge problem with
You know what? I get it.
Sure.
But at the same time, you are in the limelight 24/7. You know where you are.
Yeah.
You have a social responsibility.
You do. I believe that you do.
You do.
Not everybody is going to agree to that, but that's not what we're here for, But you do.
Well, you know what it is? It's also... Oops, no, that really sounded... You know what it is? No, I don't know what it is. But another perspective...
Yes.
Another perspective is that the people themselves are not balanced. I'm not saying that everyone has to be balanced, but there's such a inrush to go get... They seem like imbalanced individuals, and the industry itself is meant to be so cutthroat that the only people that can go through it have to be, like you said before, aggressive or willing to prostitute their minds in order to get the job, or even their bodies or something to get to that top. And you have to be relentless, and you have to, you have to have one goal
and bend your values.
But this is when gender roles come into play.
What do you mean?
Well, you're expected one way to be like this. If you're going to go into a male-dominating zone,
right,
you have to act like a man, and this is the criteria of how men act. And then if you go into this zone that's more feminine, you have to act this way. And what is acting like a woman, and what is acting like a man?
That's the thing. I feel
because
that is such a good question.
Because for me, I don't know. Do I need to be crying all the time? Do I have to be soft-spoken? I'm not soft-spoken. It doesn't make me less feminine. I'm told every day how feminine I am. And I'm outspoken. I'm bold. I don't wear pink every day. I don't speak with a voice like this.
But that's the thing. I find it very interesting how all those gender roles that we've been
spoon-fed.
Yeah, exactly. That we've been spoon-fed. It just doesn't make sense anymore. That vision is starting to tumble, and people are showing up as multi-layered individuals, with masculine and feminine energies, and they have their light, they have their shadow. I recently realized just how important it is to tap into both, to feel complete. And I think that this idea of gender roles, it separates you, and meanwhile you're crushing a part of you that's still a big part of you. It doesn't mean it's not affecting you daily. So say a dude who's very masculine, entre guillemets, he's in control of his emotions, or so he appears to be. He's very, I don't know,
loud.
What else? What
aggressive.
What does a dude mean exactly?
What's the stereotype?
Yeah, but it's that's a touchy subject too, because I think it's getting very confused in society. Like I said, women are taking pride in saying, "I don't cook, I do business," and they think because they cook that it makes them less powerful or less successful. It's getting misconstrued too.
But
I think it's because...
some women don't cook, and they're not interested in cooking. It doesn't, like you said, like you're saying, I'm not going to wear pink every day. It doesn't make me less of a woman. This woman does not enjoy cooking. It's just
that's fine, but women that say that because they think it makes them less powerful, because they don't cook and take pride in saying that because of that.
Well, there's a lot of women, we've done that. Like, I remember being a teenager, and because it felt much more appropriate for me to take on a very masculine role, so I became a tomboy.
Okay.
I was a tomboy, so everything feminine, I had a little Barbie while I was younger. I had a Barbie house and everything, and I had to hide it in this little attic space to play with it. Because I felt like I had to.
That's heartbreaking.
Oh my God.
No, but it's the same thing with the cooking. Is that there's some women who feel like for them, I understand what you're saying. They feel like for them to get ahead, they need to
suppress,
turn off their feelings, turn off their whatever's really who they are.
Anything, maybe not even just who they are. Turn off anything that might be seen as feminine, because femininity is still perceived as weak.
Or even in some, I believe really femininity is seen as threatening as well. Like it's either weak or threatening. It's why is it that your just state of being can entice another person to act out of their common sense and well-being? That's essentially
that's why it brings so much hatred.
It brings a lot of hatred, but it's that expectation, and this is why there are people coming out right now who are just not taking orders. They're just not doing it because there's a belief by human beings in general that they need to control what another person is doing in order to feel okay, which is the root of that argument with women. And this artist that came out, I'm just blown away, role model, I'm almost scared to say
Stromae. I was just about to bring him up. Stromae.
He has this video, Tous les mêmes. Tous les mêmes. It's layered and layered and layered and layered. And he plays this, he's playing himself, it's so layered. Anyway, guy and girl, this androgynous, beyond androgynous, there's this whole new sexual.
And he looks good in both.
Yeah.
As playing the man and the woman.
But it's because he's real. He's expressing a real experience. and we have to allow ourselves to start believing we deserve a real experience.
Yeah, it's true. But it's like saying,
see, I'm like, I respect what you were saying, like the layers and how the genders, it doesn't serve its purpose anymore. See, I don't agree with that at all. Like, I do think that we've gone a little too far, where I'm just saying for myself that I find, I'm seeing men, I'm sorry, I see men behaving like bitches, and I'm seeing women acting like men, and I don't like seeing this. And I think it's getting very confused, and I think that each sex is getting confused.
I have a question.
Yes.
What to you is acting like a man?
I think, biologically, men have a certain nature and women have a certain nature.
Yes. Which is,
and I think women are more nurturing, period. Mm-hmm. Men, like it or not, they're hunters. I do think men need to have responsibilities. Men need to own things. Like, own things. I don't mean material things. Own things. Have responsibility. There's certain,
do you think like a man needs to be the provider?
Not necessarily, no. But do I agree, let's say, with a man staying home with the children and a woman working? Personally, that wouldn't work for me.
Why not?
I don't feel comfortable with that.
Why?
I don't know. I don't.
I think that's the thing is that you have to own your own personal preference.
Yeah.
But I'm just asking. Why wouldn't it make you comfortable?
When I've seen men that were in that position, a whole bunch of insecurities come from that.
Come with them, yeah.
And you see them spread out in other parts of the relationship. And I start seeing a man feeling very insecure. And I don't want to be I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable with bringing the money home and my man's not working.
Well,
I have no problem sharing. I have no problem. Even if I make more than my man, I have no problem with that whatsoever. But the man that doesn't work at all and I'm taking care of all the bills, no.
Okay. So to you, your man needs to work.
He needs to
provide, and so do I.
But I think, personally, I think that this whole providing thing...
He needs to take responsibility for things, and so do I.
Yes, but I think that it goes beyond the whole woman-man thing. I think it's easier for women to see that they're providing by being mothers, because, you carry the baby, you breastfeed if you want, etc., etc. So there's a whole connection with the baby that's from the start.
Nurture.
Exactly. Okay, so nurturing, if you want to call it like that. But I think that the whole thing about both of them working, the man and the woman working, it's not necessarily about gender. It's more about feeling that you're bringing something to the table. And maybe, I don't know, I'm not a man, but maybe for a man being at home with the kids, it's harder to see what you're providing to the table. Do you see what I mean?
The thing is that there is a lot of work that goes in managing a home.
Yes. I agree.
There is a lot of work that goes in managing.
Yes.
Focus, all your attention is going there. You, let's say you have a 1-year-old, and the 1-year-old is colicky, or it's been colicky for a period of time. Your attention is on this baby. You're focused. You're focused on making sure things are running smoothly, and people get to have a choice on how they want to focus their attention. Some people are just not feminine and nurturing. There's some women who came out, they don't have a motherly instinct. Mm-hmm. And
I agree with that.
Yeah,
it's true.
And they need to, let's say they are not homosexual, because this assumption that if a woman is in any way...
It's not nurturing.
Nurturing, or does not have all the feminine instincts, that she must pair herself with some other female, as though they're anomalies.
Yeah.
What if she wants to pair with a partner? Is partnering, and the partner is comfortable being nurturing, and that's what they want to do.
No, whatever works for everybody. Everyone. Hey, I see it, and if it works for somebody else, that's cool. That's why I said it was my personal opinion. For me, that doesn't work.
But I think
I don't feel comfortable with that.
It's a totally valid opinion, But I feel that right now what's happening is that I agree with you that we're going to the extremes.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, to find balance, we go to the extremes.
Yeah.
And
this pendulum has to swing in the other direction.
And then we're going to find, because we have to see also that women haven't had these rights and these possibilities for a long time. For more time, we didn't have those things.
I totally agree.
A lot more time. So now it's like everybody's adjusting, you know? Men are adjusting because it's like,
they get
hey,
to have their feelings.
You know what I mean? They get to be in that space too. Angry and enraged. And also just the whole thing about being the provider.
When you asked me before what I meant about, like, I don't want a man, like, being a bitch. I'm sorry. As much as I want a man to be open with me, I don't need to be seeing a man crying all the time. I don't need to see a man complaining all the time, whining, all of that. I'm sorry.
But is that specific to a woman? Like whining and complaining and crying all the time?
No, but I said like a bitch. Oh. If I see a woman act like that, I'll also say that. Because I'm sorry, that's what I was saying before. Also, why are women expected to be crying and whining and wearing pink and frills and talking in a soft voice?
Pink and frills and soft voices do not equate like to whining and bitching. Whining and bitching is like a human condition that it affects all humans that are just not in a balanced state.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And you know what? I'll just keep it real. I'm sorry. We do complain way more as women. We do.
I don't know about way more.
Well, in general, this expectation that women speak more, so we use our voices to.
And if we're not complaining we might not be complaining to men, but you know, ladies, that we call each other up and we be complaining.
But there's a beauty in that. Okay, so
yeah, let's keep it real. So
that's what we're saying.
But I don't know because I don't speak to guys.
Can I just say?
I do. I have a lot of male friends.
I have a lot of male friends as well. I don't necessarily agree with the fact that women complain more. I guess it depends which guys you've encountered, because I've encountered some boo-boo, cry, poor me, poor me, my life sucks, I'm not, and you want to smack them in the mouth, and that's when you want to say, be a man, and I feel bad saying it, but at some point,
own your shit.
It's like, you know what, dude, that's enough, and I don't like to box any woman. But I've had it.
But wouldn't you kind of feel the same way with a girlfriend who kept doing that?
Yeah,
absolutely. I have to admit, it's off-putting.
For a guy to be like...
But you know what I would tell a woman? I would tell her, like, stop being such a pussy.
Okay, can we just say this? Okay, so...
Why are we calling him a dick?
Exactly. Okay, so... a dude... I'm sorry. So a dude that's being a wimp is considered a pussy, and a pussy meaning what? Weak-willed, and kind of
the thing that is running the entire world.
It's like, you mean, and I love. I can't remember what it was.
It's like that's Betty White.
It's Betty
like,
White.
Pussies take a beating. You know what I'm saying? Balls are freaking sensitive, and they don't do shit. All right. So I'm just saying, like, there's something really messed up about that too, where it's like we're using the woman's
womb.
Her womb. Yeah. And we're using it to insult and to belittle men. I don't know.
What do we, first of all, that's where you come from.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're gay, you don't want to be a boy when you come out or whatever. It's a vagina that brought you out.
Mm-hmm.
That thing is strong.
Yeah.
And then you want to always go visit something like that because it's soft, and you're crazy. Why are you doing it? And that's all humans. You're just insulting life. Yeah. Essentially, I think that...
But let's see past all that, right? If men are going so crazy about the pussy,
right,
there's got to be a lot of power to it.
Oh, there's absolutely an extreme
There is so much. There is a lot of power in the pussy, but the thing is, okay, there's an experiment that they did, and it's you take a baby elephant. That's what they do what they used to do in circuses in order to be able to contain, because an elephant is a big animal, it gets big. So when it's a baby, they tie it to a big tree. you know, and the
Or
elephant,
yeah.
so the elephant tries to move and it can't because, you know, it's stuck to a big tree. So when it's grown, like a grown elephant, you know, when it's mature, you can put that thing tied to a twig. It won't even try to move.
No,
because it's been doing that for 20 years and it has never worked. You know,
until you piss it off and then it goes and stomps everybody in the hallway.
Okay,
but before it gets to
that, I just go back.
But before it gets to that, it's just to talk about the power. You know, it's like women have power, a lot of power, a lot of possibilities, but it's like, if you've been told that you cannot do shit and you're not worth shit and you can't do anything, it can take a long time before you're like, wait, hold on, what?
Yeah.
And you realize that you're like, no, I have a lot of power and I can change the world.
Or, for example, imagine if we keep telling women, you know what, in order for you to go into the workplace and do what it is that you want to do, you need to go and deal with a bunch of sharks and a bunch of guys who are always going to do this and do this. What if you're someone who's just not you're just not, that's not what you are.
You're not civil.
You can't even, you can't even muster up that level of aggression.
But that's reality, though.
But that's my point.
It is reality, though. They are sharks.
They are sharks, but I'd like to believe that there has to be a space for somebody who's not, unless we want to keep having nothing but crazy sharks running all our money.
But like I said, no.
You just have to learn, as a woman, to swim in that.
But Lady Andy, like you said, you don't necessarily have that right now. Right now, you still have to push, but we haven't had this much freedom for a long time.
Yeah.
So things are
we can't keep expecting every generation and every other day to deal with the same drama that everybody else dealt with in the past. We're not dealing with dinosaurs
anymore.
No,
right?
We're not.
We have to leave space for people to be able to do what they have to do without having to be like ninjas in a fucking boardroom.
Yeah. And I think that space is very slowly, but surely being created, you know?
But you see, the metaphor you just used, the boardroom ninjas.
Ninjas in the boardroom.
Okay, wait a minute. They are ninjas. But what I'm trying to say, and I'm speaking of personal experience, is that I am also a ninja. And that's my point. And I don't have to be and I don't have to, I don't have to be like a man. But I could also have the same skills.
Right. And you're
still... They're ninjas, I'm a ninja. I have the same skills.
Everybody likes Kung Fu fighting. That was a little interlude. No, but it's true. You are a ninja. You are a goddamn ninja. You know what I'm saying?
I would say.
But it's so that's what it's about. It's about finding
the four of us.
Finding your balance.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
No,
it's not
really
easy.
But it's not.
But that's the thing. So, Sybil tells me often that I treat her like I'm a dude. Okay? And it's true. It's weird. I'm going to say it. I do feel like I was a Brazilian man in a past life.
Jamaican.
I'm just going to put it out there. Jamaica, for some reason, Jamaica's in there somehow, but I was a Brazilian man somewhere in my past life, and I don't know, that's just a feeling I have.
You were probably my lover in another life, because the way you talk to me sometimes ain't right.
But all I'm trying to say, so y'all don't get all up in our business, you know what I'm saying? What I'm trying to say is this. Sometimes I behave in a way that some people will qualify like a dude. And sometimes I'll behave like some people will qualify as a chick. And then I'm like, well, I'm just acting as myself, though. I'm really just being myself. Some days girl!
There's some wine pouring going on.
Really? I'm good. She's the worst. I'm Libra.
No, but
that's what it is.
That's a good point, because, some of us have more... masculine energy. I think you have both.
Yeah.
Obviously, you get sometimes a little bit domineering with me, with the masculinity. Which I love, because she protects me. What I'm saying is, some of us have more femininity. And then in some areas of our lives, depending on what area, like in some areas, people would qualify me as more masculine. Hence in business.
But that's the
You know?
thing. It's like some areas.
But
It's
not
like
in my
some
personal
dudes too. Like some
Yeah.
dudes too. Sometimes they're more feminine in certain areas of their life because we have both energies
Yeah.
in ourselves. You
And they
know.
get to express themselves in like a multitude of ways.
Yeah.
Everybody can't be like a gorilla.
That's the thing. Like every dude is not, you know. So I was
Well,
with
I
one
like
of
gorillas.
Yeah, but you all you need is one at any given time. You can't have all of them waiting as gorillas. One is all that suffices. So let's have some antelope and deer.
Right, we need some balance. You're
What's
with
that?
you're with your man. You lean on it, you rest on his chest, he's holding you. You're the one resting on him, right? And I remember at some point what I'm saying is I was with one of my lovers and he was going through something and I was the one holding him the way that normally a dude would hold his chick. Right. And I remember for a moment there feeling like, what the hell? I'm not a dude. Why am I the one holding him like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I realized, where's that even coming from? This is just love. He needs to be comforted right now. And you know what? I'm not being a man. I'm just comforting.
You're being a comforting human being.
Yeah,
and maybe
absolutely.
he wants to rest on my chest for a second.
Well,
you know
no,
what I mean?
men need that too.
Absolutely. But there was a weird thing in my brain, and I don't know, maybe it comes from society, this idea that, you know, it has to be a certain way. Mm-hmm. But I remember having that moment being like, okay, that's gotta go. Because in the end, I just love you. And I want you to be okay. And yeah, sometimes I'm going to rest on your chest. But you know what? Sometimes you're going to rest on mine. And that's just fine. And guess what? Boobies are great.
They are.
So that's a bonus. You're just going to rest on
yours
that.
are fabulous today. Thank you for wearing that.
Thank you.
I return the favor.
Yours are always fabulous.
There's a lot of cleavage going on in this room.
Cleavage.
Too bad you can't see it.
Free-flowing cleavage.
We're going to have feminist topics because, you know, we don't wear bras right now. No bras.
Fuck bras.
I will always remember I went to a sleepover at my friend's house, and we were a bunch of girls, whatever, and one of the girls kept her bra on to go to bed.
Yeah,
and
I have friends who do that.
And we, like, most of us were shocked.
Yeah.
We were like, are you okay?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I was like, take that shit off.
Take the bra
I'm like,
off.
this is free. We're free. You're free.
Let the girls run wild.
Yeah.
Please.
I could not sleep with a bra. Actually, I can't even sleep with panties, though.
Right? No. Naked is the way to go.
Yeah, that's real.
Another, you know what? That's it.
Owning your body.
Claim it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but claiming it doesn't always have to be. That's another thing is we're saying about being...
It's about freedom.
Every interaction that I have, and it doesn't always have to be. In fact, you know what? The grocery guy at the store, he didn't treat me like that. But in communicating with another person, I don't have to be tied into my sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to first be scanned for that. Like, that's why you can't go to a board meeting without them giggling and wondering why your high-pitched voice is still talking. They've already tuned you out because you're not putting out the pum-pum on the table, and they don't expect very much else from you.
And it's crazy because it's a weird game, right? I mean, I've never really had that, but I'm just thinking, you're in the board meeting, mm-hmm. and what if you started stripping? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because that's what they expect from you. If you started doing that, you would be so out of place. Yeah. Completely out of place. Yeah. And just your credibility, your integrity, everything would be out the window. Well, you'd be
why are you stripping?
But at the same time, they're treating you like a stripper at the strip club. You know what I mean? They ogle you and they're like, oh yeah, comments. You know what I mean?
But so, you know, I'm sorry, did you want to...
No, that's basically my point.
Actually, that hasn't happened to me in a very long time. Mm-hmm. I haven't had that situation in a very long time where I couldn't communicate because I was... In fact, the thing, I feel like sometimes the problem communicating is with everyone. It's because there's an expectation from you.
It's true.
Well, I don't know. I go in for business and I'm watching the guy talk to me and he's just acting a fool.
Yeah.
And I know what he's thinking, and that constantly happens.
You know, another thing that constantly happens that I've noticed amongst women is the need to apologize.
Oh, God.
The need to apologize for bumping into you, not bumping into you, looking at you a certain way, not
apologize
looking at you a certain
to
way.
apologize. They apologize because they apologize.
I'm more and more, I'm starting to, I want to stop apologizing unless I really need to / want to apologize. It's ridiculous the amount of times we say sorry in a day just for being there, you know? And that's something that is changing in my own life. I can just speak from my experience, but it is something that in speaking to women that I'm close to, women that I'm not so close to, acquaintances, women that I bumped into in the street, it's a thing. And I'm not sure where it stems from.
Because we apologize for being. That's what we do, you know. We apologize for taking up space. But I think that it's a great thing that you bring this up, because there's a lot of things that women can take from men and that men can take from women.
Yes.
And for instance, men do not tend to apologize for even when they do stuff. No, but you know what I mean?
That's
they don't
extreme.
apologize for randomness. You know, they will apologize when it's worth apologizing, when like it has a purpose, it has, you know. But women were like, we're sorry. Of course, we're generalizing here, but that's the, you know, the big picture. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the fact that men are, I guess, more assertive. I don't know.
Yes, they are.
You know, more assertive.
That's what I was talking about. I'm an assertive person. That doesn't make me less feminine.
No, but it is typically known as a male quality.
Male trait.
Mm-hmm. You know? And I think that these are the things that we should, you know, pick and choose what works for us, as in, like, the other energy, you know? Like, for men, for instance, I find that, I mean, probably not just me, it's harder for men to express their emotions, you know? And it really is, like, it's, like, repressed. And when it comes out, it's just, like, anger and, like, tears of anger, even though they're, like, sad. It's just always, like, it always starts with anger. And you're like, okay, first layer.
It's so true. It comes out in some ways that we can't recognize.
Right? And you're like, well, talk to me, you know? And I think that we can both learn from each other. And that's the beauty of it. Yeah. Being in that space where, because if we're equals, you know, if you see somebody that you consider your equal and that's doing something in a more efficient way that you do, what are you going to do? You're going to learn from them. You're going to be like, hey, I want to learn to do that, but in that way that you do it, because it's more efficient, right?
Yes.
So I think it's a nice exchange.
It is. I remember I went to Toronto at some point, and it was lovely. I just walked into this museum / café. Je suis française. Museum / café. And I was sitting there, and this dude came to sit next to me. And I don't know, this middle-aged man. And we started having a conversation, and it turns out he was an actor as well. And we were getting to know each other a bit. And at some point, we got into that kind of discussion where he was saying, you know, I find it beautiful how women come together. They talk, they express everything. It's out there, you know. And he's like, you find more men who are lonely at the end of their lives, you know. Like we are emotionally, it's just not the same. We might discuss the big picture, you know, like the important details, but you rarely have a friend whom you can cry in their arms or really like express, my God, say, I'm in love with this woman and I'm terrified and I don't know what to do and she's driving me nuts. Usually what he was telling me is that he has to process a lot of his stuff on his own and half the time he doesn't know it's even there. And he was like, I admire and in a way I envy women because they get to come together and that is a given for them. They're allowed to do that. That's something that we you know, we're talking about men and they have a lot of privileges. This is one of ours where it's like, you know, we get together, we're emotional, and that's what we were saying. Like, Diane, that's what it's like. We were having a very intense moment, and emotions were flying, and it's like, well, there you go. That's a cherry on top of a girl hangout. It goes, we laugh, we cry, we get angry, we get sassy,
we talk, you know,
we just let it out. We just let it out. And you know what? Once I'm done, say on the phone, I call my girl up. I'm going through something. I call my girl up,
We do
and then I call my other girl up, and I'm like, girl, this is what's going on, and it sucks right now, and I'm sorry for myself, and she finds ways to get me better. After that, it's out of my system, bit by bit. But for a guy to process all that on his own, it's a different challenge.
I always talk to you about this, actually.
Yeah.
I always say, like, I feel bad for men in that way because it will take them longer to process because we have that support system. They're on their own.
Well,
it's the truth.
I can understand for men, and I don't think that there's a better or worse way. I think that we have to be able to tap into all options.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because I personally am, my habit is to process alone.
Yes.
And it does take me a long time to do so. You know, but it's almost important for me to do that most of the time. And when I do need the outburst, I'm lucky to know that I have
it's there.
access.
That's the thing.
And then I'm surrounded by women who are not going to be like, man, this girl, she's an asshole. Kill him in your face.
Like, girl, yeah, some of us are a little bit more introverted than others.
Yeah.
But even you have your moments with your girls where you let it all out.
Like yesterday, you know what?
She'll let it out.
I was just like, you know what? I think I'm crazy. Just stay on the phone with me. We might talk about aliens, but if not, we're done. We're good.
Exactly.
Because
but you're here.
If not,
I'm
I
here.
can process alone. Like I have the masculine and the feminine, so I understand. But it's good for you to get it. There's been nothing more
lethargic.
Cathartic. We bred. We went to school,
Cathartic.
But you know,
than touching another person and having an ability to release something.
Yes.
Well, with all that being said, this is why we created this podcast.
yes,
Because this is what we do.
To come
As
together.
women, we come together and we talk about it.
Yeah.
And we thought it'd be nice, actually, for both men and women to listen to that.
tap into that.
To tap into
Yeah,
that.
to
You
feel
know?
free to allow yourselves to have your thoughts. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say it's. I love that you said that about knowing that there's somebody that you can call, or more than one person that you can call, and just because me, my life, that's what it is. I have more than one person that I can call, and it's such a great feeling, and it's something that's, I don't know, I take it for granted because that's always how it's been in my life. Mm-hmm. You know, I've always had close girlfriends, and I always found with all of my men or like dates or whatever that like when I sit down with my girls and talk about my relationship or sex, I get super comfortable. Mm-hmm. I give details. How long is it? Did it hurt? Was it fun? Did I come? Girl. You know? No, but do you know what I mean? We get super specific. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And every single time that I've spoken with guys about that, they're like, yeah, you know, but guys are really like, oh yeah, I hate it.
Actually,
but could I be honest?
Go.
I need both my female friends and my male friends.
Yeah.
Because I love you ladies. And I love talking to you. But there is a but. I really need I will call my male
she needs
friends.
Our tribal union.
We all do though.
No, but I need advice from
a guy.
From my male friends. They will speak in a different way. And you know what? It's not always. They could get in a heart-to-heart with me easily. They will have in-depth conversations with me.
Yeah.
Just from a male's perspective. And so I need that. I need both.
I agree.
I really do. And, you know, I didn't really have very close female friends until my mid-20s.
Okay.
I had more male friends. Because I've never been that type of woman that wants to sit down all the time and talk about men. I don't want to do that.
My point was more like, I find that like women, we get specific. We talk about, we go in depth.
Girl, yes. I wanted to say,
but dudes, they will talk about stuff. Yeah. But most of the time, it will stay on the surface.
They talk about vaginas.
But the thing is, that's the thing.
My male friends go in depth
That's the thing.
I don't agree.
The thing is, in general, Diane, you are right, and it goes with what I was trying to say. But I spoke to a guy this guy I know. And I was telling him exactly that. I met this dude. I was in Toronto, sat in a cafe, blah, 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 blah. And then he was like, yeah, but you know what? He's like, no, I have friends that I can call and really talk to. I was like, wow, well, that's great. I guess that guy was speaking from his own experience. But ultimately...
But even for women. I mean, like, women that have male friends. My male friends actually have in-depth conversations with me. They
Yeah,
don't
no,
even.
that's a different thing. I'm talking about when they speak to men.
That's
men
the
to
thing.
men.
But I think they always have that one voice.
Feelings. I've never
I don't
really
think they
heard
do
them really
always.
get into feelings unless they're about to kill somebody or they're really like dead about their girl.
Yeah, but you know what?
I've never really heard them do that.
But I
Most
think they have that one friend that
most-
they'll go to.
I mean, not every guy though. Most cases, I think that that's the beauty of a male-female relationship, friendship, is that I've had guys be like, wow. Most of the time, my guy friends are like, man, Isa, like, I don't get to talk about this with anyone else. I don't get to
That's
go
true.
deep like this with anyone else. I
That's what I'm
really
trying to
appreciate.
say.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I really
Okay,
appreciate your
yeah.
presence because you're bringing an openness to emotions, and I feel safe in expressing them to you. And so most guys, they talk, and then they're like, "Are you a spy? How did you get me to say all these things?" And I'm like, "I'm just listening to you. I'm here. I'm open. I do that all the time. It's not new to me. This is what I do. This is how I help my friends out."
Actually, you're right, because
You know?
if I go to them and they're having an in-depth conversation with me,
Yeah,
I guess they come to me too.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the
That would work,
beauty.
yeah.
I mean, because we say like male-female friendships it's iffy. It can get iffy most of the time, and we were talking about that. What?
I don't think so.
Not
Not all of them.
I mean, not all of them, but in general.
It's never all.
But wait, it's never all.
Well,
First
don't
of all,
generalize.
but girl, can I generalize for a second?
Go ahead, go.
In general, we have said this. If there's an attraction, even just a minimum of an attraction between a male and a female, before you can officialize and be like, we're friends, and now we get to that point where the dude can call you with his emotions and feel safe enough to express whatever's going on, there's always that moment where it's like, what's going to happen? Are we going to bang? We're not going to bang. Are we going to bang? We're not going to yeah, okay, we're not banging. Great, now we're friends. And you know what? I love you. The love that's there, that remains past the sexual connection or whatever, the sexual tension, that's what makes the friendship tangible.
Yeah.
And basically, and I think that's the only way a dude and a chick can be friends and actually go in depth like that.
I agree. You can't just be like, sexual tension? What are you talking about? You know? Because then it just keeps coming back like a bad nightmare. Or a good nightmare. Whatever you want to call it.
There's a beauty in that balance where a guy can bring you a different perspective. And I think we do the same for them.
Yeah.
And in the end, that brings us back to not only gender roles in general, but the masculine and the feminine in all of us.
How we
That comes
complete
together.
ourselves.
Exactly. It just goes to show how much we need each other.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, something different.
Yeah.
Something completely different that's so like uncharted and unknown to us.
Mm-hmm.
That's always good.
Yeah.
Well, girls, I think this has been really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for all your contributions.
Yeah.
I just want to have the choice. And as a modern woman, I'm really grateful to be born. I was so excited about this podcast because I was like, you know what, modern for me, this age where I can walk on the street at 4 a.m, where I live, not everywhere in the world. I have choices. I can be feminine. I can do it. I can do pretty much a lot of things that I want. That to me,
like this podcast.
I love that you didn't say everything that I want.
I don't want to
Anything,
do
that's
everything
true.
that I want because I'm still scared of myself.
It's true, right?
I want to do everything I want to do.
I don't trust myself 100%.
I do.
Sometimes.
You're getting there.
I'm getting there. And, so
And there's
I
that space for you to get there.
Yes, and that's what modern day has given to me. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you,
Thank
ladies.
you so much for sharing, for being authentic and real, and I love you guys. And for y'all listening, make sure to tune in for a next episode of Let's Talk.